Hello and welcome to Atheist Viewpoint. I'm Dennis Horvitz.
I'm David Silverman. Thank you for joining us today. Today we're going to be talking about the midterm elections and how the Tea Party affected it. Really, Dennis, we wanted to talk about how the Tea Party didn't affect it and how it was all about the religious right again.
Right.
You know, a lot of people were talking about how the Tea Party was going to take things over, and they did have an impact, but it wasn't what they wanted. It wasn't what the Tea Party was started out about. And really, because the Tea Party started out with an attempt to get accountability back into politics and to get responsibility back in politics. But really what won this election for the Republican Party was not the Tea Party, but it was the evangelical right. That's what we're going to be talking about today, and how that's going to affect atheists in America moving forward. Did you vote?
Of course, absolutely. I always vote.
Did you vote for the nutcase in New York?
You know, I was just tempted to, but no.
Good. I wasn't tempted to. The Democrats lost the House but retained the Senate. Of course, American Atheist does not choose sides on Democrat, Republican, or whatever, but we do want to talk about the religious influence in both parties.
Right. We can't recommend for or against the candidate.
Right, and it's a dead issue anyways because the vote's already happened. Right. But I did want to talk a little bit about how the Tea Party kind of devolved into a religious right party, whether or not they were intentionally, whether or not they pulled in the religious right, or whether or not they were taken over by the religious right. I don't know which one the answer is, but what used to be a party of accountability just a few months ago is now a party of Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And, well...
all right, okay, I just have mixed feelings about it because, you know, maybe they said that they were the party of accountability, but account for what and to who and about what? You know what I mean? I understand that there's a lot of people who are rightfully angry and have a right to be angry about the economy and all that. But to me, the Tea Party has been a party simply of anger and no solutions, of blame.
I frankly agree.
Yeah.
I frankly agree. They got angry because they wanted to be angry, and they wanted to find somebody to blame. And that's how they were founded.
Right.
But that's not where they are now. Okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've been hearing that basically the elections in the ballots in some cases still aren't even finished being counted as we go to tape right now in some areas, and already the Republicans have basically pushed them aside in some cases.
Yeah,
you know, they use them.
Basically the Republican Party ate the Tea Party and spit them out.
And for the longest time, I thought it was the other way around.
Yeah.
I think most people did too. I mean, if you had asked me a month ago, 2 months ago, I would have said, you know, the Republican Party thought that the Tea Party was quite useful, but now with the Sarah Palins and the Christine O'Donnells and stuff, that I would have thought they had a tiger by the tail.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently that's not the case. Is that now that they've been useful to them, they're not needed anymore. So the Republicans go back into
and they're going to spit them right out. And what we're going to see is the end of the Tea Party, frankly, as far as I'm concerned.
I hope you're right, but
I don't know. I want to talk just a little bit about Karl Denninger, who was one of the founders of the Tea Party.
Oh, right, yeah.
And as far as he's concerned, he agrees with us that the party has been obsessed, the party has been taken over by what he calls guns, gays, and God. Mm-hmm. It used to be about financial accountability and anger, and whether or not that was justified and whether or not the targets were correct, that's what it was. But now it's about guns, gays, and gods.
Well, they were just as angry at the Republican Party as they were at the Democrats or in Obama.
And who won? And look at what happened. They were angry at the Republicans, and then the Republicans won on them. Yeah, it's a joke, Denninger writes. This is from Daniel Tenser. It's an online article. We ought to sue anyone who uses the Tea Party name for defamation. It's a joke, but so are you, all of you, he said. Especially Sarah Palin, Newt Gingrich, Bob Barr, and douchebag groups such as the Tea Party Patriots. Denninger writes, Tea Party my ass. there's nothing other than, this was nothing other than the Republican Party stealing the anger of a population that was fed up with the Republican Party's own theft of their tax money at gunpoint to bail out the robbers of Wall Street and fraudulently redirecting it back toward electing the people who stole all the effing money. So this is from a founder of the Tea Party who basically abandoned the Tea Party because the Tea Party was taken over by the religious right and by the theocrats. And we have a few quotes that I want to show you up on the screen about some of the results of the Tea Party over the past, over this election. We want to show you exactly what happened. Let's go to the slides. The first slide is from U.S. News. A survey commissioned by the Faith and Freedom Coalition shows self-identified evangelicals comprising 29% of the 2010 electorate. Of this group, 39% are members of the Tea Party, and hammering home the connection, 52% of the self-identified Tea Party members consider themselves evangelicals. So we really are talking about a Christian takeover of the Republican Party. And the next slide, conservative groups, and this is a different thing, but we also have to look at this. Conservative groups rallied Iowa voters to vote the judges out of their seats this year in response to the decision last year, kicking those out 3 justices. This is talking about the justices who declared that gay marriage in Iowa was legal. Okay? They kicked them out. They voted them out as a shot across the judiciary bow. This is from Christianity Today. 2 scary points. Okay? Number 1 is that the evangelicals were 29% of the electorate. Okay, 29% of the electorate. That's a huge amount. That's a serious amount. And we're talking about 50% of the Tea Party self-identifies as evangelical Christians. And then what did they do? They actually are trying to. They did succeed in booting out the judiciary. Now the judiciary is there for a reason. Okay, we have checks and balances for a reason. And the judiciary is there to make sure that the legislatures don't break the law.
Well, you know, what's happened is that the foxes have managed to BS the chickens into voting them back into guarding the hen house.
Yes, yes, and it's a very, very scary thing.
It is very scary because these anger, I mean, I think in one sense the people have a right to be angry, but they've been totally fooled. It's blue smoke and mirrors, and they've been taught to direct all their. They've been all their anger directed at the Democrats, at Obama, and the thing is, here's the thing though. I think this Christian takeover of the Republican Party started long before the Tea Party. It started.
Oh yeah.
It started back 10, 15 years ago,
Ronald
maybe even
Reagan
longer.
era. Yeah, really.
Yeah, the thing is, Reagan really never gave them anything. That's the ironic thing.
Well, he gave them anti-abortion.
Yeah, but he courted them. But from what I've read, he also was pretty upfront about them. He says, this is not your moment right now, but I need you to help me get me into the presidency.
Yeah, but it worked.
But
then George Bush Sr. came in and said that atheists shouldn't be considered citizens or patriots.
But the Christian takeover of the Republican Party began a long time ago. On the other hand, you know, the people like Sarah Palin and Rush Limbaugh and Hannity, and I mean, you know, where else are they going to go? I mean, certainly they can't make use of facts.
Right.
The facts the facts aren't in their favor. So what else can you do but whip up this sense of religious persecution? You know, what else are they going to do? Yeah, I mean, if you're going to talk about really, if you're going to get down to the nitty gritty of politics and all that boring stuff and all the facts, then somebody's going to have to do something.
That's right.
But you can always whip people up with religion. You can always fire them up with this. It doesn't require facts. It pushes buttons.
And it's a scary, it's a scary thing when you're thinking about how many people allow their buttons to be pushed without question. And I mean, people voted out the judiciary. In and of itself, I have a major problem with anybody voting for a judge. Okay, and not every state is like that. Iowa is one of those states where they allow people, the judges are appointed by the governor, but then you can vote them out at the end of the term, and it's not a competition, this judge versus that judge. It's whether or not the judges get to stay.
Yeah, California, they vote for judges.
I have a major problem with that because that's politicizing the judiciary.
Yeah.
And, you know, the judiciary's job, like it or hate it, is to make sure that the legislators and the executive branch doesn't break the law.
Right.
And that's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to stick up for the little guy. They're supposed to stick up for the minority. The majority doesn't get to vote out the judges because they defend the minority. That's the judge's job, to defend the minorities.
Right.
So here we've got two lessons here. Number one, that the Republican Party and the Tea Party have been taken over by evangelicals. And number two, the evangelicals still have strength. They still have the numbers to do some pretty wrong things, like vote out judges who are simply doing their jobs. So,
I would think that the evangelicals at this point probably feel very encouraged at the moment.
oh yeah, and they should be. And the reason I bring this up is because people come to us and they say, well, you know, what can I do? Well, this is one of the things that you have to do. We have to counter this. This is a battle. This is a long battle. It's a long war.
Let me just get my 2 cents in here and say this. It's not just the people who voted for the Tea Party. It's people who knew better who didn't vote, who sat on their butts.
Amen. That's right.
It's the so-called liberals and moderates and intellectuals who sat on their butts. I mean, it makes me furious because for months leading up to this election, everybody was saying, all the pundits were saying, on both sides of both sides of the aisle, that this is going to be a low turnout midterm election, that and that people just don't care about midterm elections. Yep. And it's precisely under these circumstances the government gets stolen from the people.
That's exactly right.
And so people out there who knew better, people who can, basically my anger is directed at people who can find the United States on a map of North America, who stayed home. Yeah. You geniuses, thank you very much. Although I will say this, and I've heard this said in several places. It's one thing when when the Republicans were in the minority, and all they could do was complain and block legislation and make sure that Obama didn't get anything done, basically sabotage his presidency. It's another thing now that they're the majority in the House, so they've got to do something now. And if obstructing the president is their only game, it could backfire on them.
I don't want to take choices on Obama or Republicans or Democrats. I'm really worried about how much the Republicans are going to reabsorb the religious right, and are we ever going to see a conservative party that's not a religious party?
Not in your and my lifetime.
That's a very sad statement.
See, because here's the thing, you use the term reabsorb, but it's just so convenient. It's just there for them, that whole to push those religious buttons. That Christian, all they got to do is Christian this, Christian that, and this is a Christian country, and Jesus Christ, and all that other stuff, and it's for instance. The reason why Sarah Palin can basically flat out lie about things is because her constituency isn't holding her accountable. She's not going to, no one's going to care. They want to believe the lies she tells them. If anything, there's a certain pressure on these people to keep telling the lie if they want to get there.
That's right.
Get where they're going.
The death panels.
Yeah, I mean, there was never any, this is a flat out lie.
Yeah.
But they're not ever going to, nobody from their side is ever going to, if Sarah Palin gets chucked, it's not because she's a liar. It's because she stepped on the wrong toes. It's going to be for something else. It won't be because she failed to tell the truth about during her campaigns, or about about atheists or about death panels or about, you know, anything. She's not accountable for the truth to her constituency. She's supposed to be she gets ahead, and people like her get ahead by reinforcing the lie that people want to believe.
Mm-hmm.
And so to go back to what you're saying, the Christian takeover of the Republican Party, you know, it happened a long time ago, and it's just that.
It's a feast.
It's a feast.
It's a
and
feast.
it's simply there. It's a ready-made thing. It's not even a matter of so much a takeover. It's just so easy for them to tap into it anytime they want to.
If that's the case, then the only defense that we have is to mobilize a counterforce.
Right.
The only thing that we can do to counter that is to have the atheists have a unified voice, a unified stance, a voting bloc of atheists, just like the voting bloc of evangelicals.
Right. It's very difficult because, look, I think as you alluded to earlier, the non-affiliated people, and that includes not just atheists, but you know, people who are brought up in some kind of religious tradition who no longer affiliate with a specific church or synagogue or mosque or whatever it is. That number has doubled in the last 10 years. And it's growing. It's the largest, the unaffiliated segment of society is actually growing. It's kind of an unreligious, not anti-religious, but it's like the non-religious.
The nuns.
Yeah, the nuns. The non-religious segment is the largest growing segment of society right
in
now.
all 50 states.
Right, in all 50 states. And
this is why these people have to realize that they are a subset of atheists. Okay, there are different kinds of atheists out there, and nuns are a kind of atheist. Whether or not you have a religion, it doesn't matter why, and it doesn't matter what you think on a philosophical level. If you're not a religious person, if you don't believe in God, if you have no religion, it doesn't matter if you call yourself an atheist or an agnostic or a skeptic or a realist or a secular humanist, well, skeptics. But when it comes right down to it, we need to coalesce.
Right.
And we need to coalesce as a hardline voting bloc to fight against the religious nuts who have taken over half the, you know, all of the Republican Party and, frankly, half the Democratic Party.
Right. But, well, yeah, I mean, that's the only way to go, because you're not going to convince the Tea Party, the Sarah Palin people, the Rand Paul people, certainly not the Christine O'Donnell people. You know, Massimo Pigliucci, you know, has a saying, because he's been a guest on this show many times. There's a tendency to commit what's called the rational fallacy, and that is, if you just simply explain things to people, that everything will be all right. Well, it's a fallacy because it's simply not true.
Right.
People who don't want to know, who don't want to hear it, you're not going to explain anything to them.
That's right.
So we can't any longer, if we ever did, adopt this position that, you know, if we articulate our position and we show that, say, separation of church and state is good for everybody, you know.
They're still not going to support it.
No, because it's not good. It's not good for people. Separation of church and state is not good for people who don't want the separation of church and state.
That's right. That's right. Even if they think that the separation of church and state will benefit them, it's never going to that the loss of separation of church and state, that the merger of church and state, it benefits one group of people or two groups of people. It benefits the preachers who are in power,
right,
and it benefits the politicians who are in their pocket.
Right.
It does not benefit the parishioners.
No.
Because no matter how religious you are, you won't be religious enough. No matter
right.
how pious you are, no matter, you know, what segment you are, you're not going to be in the right segment all the time.
That's the psychological game that's played when you have religious principle as a political principle. It's so easy that you're never enough. People who think that who consider themselves to be strictly religious, loyal and true, believing fundamentalists, could wake up one day and find out that somebody thinks they're not Christian enough.
That's right.
Somebody in power. Anyway.
All right, so we have just a few minutes left.
Okay.
I want to talk about, let's go to the slides. I want to talk a couple of things about what's going on of interest to local atheists. Number one is that The Nature of Existence is a cool DVD. It's a cool movie. I saw it. It was produced by Roger Nygaard. We're not going to go to the video. We're going to go to the slides. It's a cool video. It's coming out on DVD, and I saw the movie. It's a pretty good movie. They have not paid for any sort of sponsorship. I'm just letting you know that The Nature of Existence is out on DVD now. I do want to just take a moment to tell you a little bit about one of our local groups. I'm going to be profiling local groups on the show from here and there on the occasion. So I want to make sure that you all know about this local group that I just went to go speak, which is the Pennsylvania Non-Believers. Mm-hmm. The Pennsylvania Non-Believers is located in York, Pennsylvania, but they have multiple meetings around the country. Let's go to the slide here. It's primarily an active in central Pennsylvania, York, Lancaster, Harrisburg, but members and visitors are welcome from as far as you can drive. They have regular meetings here in York. I'm not going to go through all this, but regular meeting in York, Harrisburg, Chambersburg, Reading, Lewisburg, Lebanon, Lancaster. If you'd like to check out the Pennsylvania Non-Believers, check them out at panonbelievers.org. Again, they are a local affiliate of American Atheists and a really great group. And thank you very much for hosting me. Other of atheist interest out there, on December 4th, American Atheists will be hosting Tom Flynn at our headquarters here on this very stage, and we're actually going to have an opening group singing for him. He's going to be talking about the trouble with Christmas.
Right here on our stage?
Right here on our stage, December 11th. New Jersey Humanist Network is going to have Human Light events. It will include a catered dinner, professional entertainment, and an area in the room for children to play. That more information can be found at njhn.org. December 18th will feature a talk by Paul Kurtz. This is going to be at the Red Bank Humanists, by the way. It's not on the slide, but I believe it's going to be on the Red Bank Humanists for the December 18th. So you can look up the Red Bank Humanists. And here's an announcement for those of you who are in the Alabama area. I have mentioned that we were going to be bringing back the Rams. The Rams are coming back. Our first Ram will be January 28th through 30th in Alabama, Huntsville, Alabama. I'm going to be there. Sean Faircloth from the Secular Coalition for America is going to be there. Blair Scott is running the show.
Where's this in Huntsville?
Yeah, it's in Huntsville, and you can find out more information on our website at www.atheists.org. Now, our website address is, of course, atheists.org. Our email address is avtv@atheists.org if you have any questions or comments about the show and about how we change it up and about what we're doing. Dennis, thank you very much for joining us. You came in for a special taping, and I really appreciate you coming in.
My pleasure.
Now, you know what? It's been great having you. We'll see you soon. Thank you for joining us on American Atheists, where reason reigns and reality rules. Have a great day.